Iris has come to share some of her lived experience of this work, and because I can talk about my experience, that's great. But I'm going to get I'm going to be sharing stories with you now about what this looks like in real life. And so I'm just going to take a minute to introduce Iris to you, and then we'll hear her story. So Iris grew up in Africa, and she has lived in Australia since her mid-20s. In her late 50s, she trained as an art therapist and set up her business, Art of Life Coaching. Iris works with people who want to refire so they can experience joy and purpose again, having lost their mojo in midlife. Iris helps her clients identify their essential qualities, skills, and talents that brings them enormous energy and joy as they find their purpose and true calling. So beautiful. Welcome, Iris. Thank you for being here. So I would love you to share just a little bit about where were you at? Where were you at before we started working together? So Iris has been in Living Abundance Mastermind. Just let's cast back, see if we can remember. Because sometimes it's quite cool to look back at where we were.
Yeah, so I had been running my coaching business and wasn't getting any consistency of clients and was feeling like it was incredibly hard work. And I'd done a little bit of investigating into my money mindset and was told that I was very immature, basically, that I hadn't kind of grown up in terms of taking responsibility for my money. And I found that quite hard to accept because I wasn't sure what to do about it. So I think through another contact, I heard about your wealth retreat, or I got onto your mailing list and I did the wealth retreat. And that just seemed to me to be a really unusual way to talk about money, the way that you do it through the energy and things. And but it really went deep. You know, after doing those 5 days, I really felt I'd kind of, each time I'd gone so deep into, you know, with the questions you'd asked and that sort of thing. And so it kind of answered some questions that I couldn't actually verbalize. I couldn't really say what the questions were, but I knew there was something that I needed to figure out.
Yeah.
And I hadn't come across an approach like yours before. It's just so unusual. I love how you bring the feminine and the masculine energies together. That made sense to me. It wasn't all sort of woo-woo stuff. It was actually grounded and practical. And I loved the idea of talking to my business, asking my business what it needed. That was so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really beautiful to witness the transformation of yourself within your relationship with money as well, right? It's been pretty powerful stuff. What I'd like you, just because I know there's some people kind of sitting and considering, oh my God, what's good? I'm considering diving into this beautiful body of work. Can you remember when you kind of got that sense of, well, basically when we're sitting at this point, can you flash back to where you were when you were kind of on that fence of deciding whether to dive in a bit deeper? Can you remember what was going on for you?
Yes. For probably the first time in a long time, money wasn't an issue. And this was the funny thing about it. I knew I had some money coming from my dad's estate. It was in process, and in England, and I thought, yeah, you know, that's fine. I'll have the money to do this course. So it wasn't the course. It was kind of like, is this going to work? Is it going to work for me? How will I know? You know, it was just all those questions. And I had to sit with myself and think, well, and just let myself sit with it really to get the answer for that. And so at some point I decided I would do it. But the funny thing was that, you know, so money wasn't an issue for the first time in my life, just about, because I'd always had this thing of can't afford it and whatever. And then the money didn't actually come through for another 12 months. So I was on the course with Lara for 12 months, having to somehow find money to make the payments. if I'd known that beforehand, I probably wouldn't have signed up, because that's what had always stopped me, was I didn't have the money available. So that 12 months while the money was coming through was just such a brilliant education for me in how to welcome in, open up to abundance, knowing it was there and welcoming it in. And also, because I've never had that much money in my bank account before, you know, a whole lot of things, like knowing there was going to be more afterwards, accepting that abundance is that, you know, that's the state of abundance, there's more. And a whole lot of issues around, you know, gosh, I didn't even have to work hard for this. So, you know, it challenged, those 12 months were just so valuable, because they challenged just about every, you know, block that I had. And then when the money came through, there were more blocks that came up with, like, how to deal with this, you know. So, but there were also some amazing other things. Shall I talk about them? Some other things that
Yeah, because some of the things kind of like, I guess what landed for you was some of the beautiful manifestations that landed for you while you were waiting to land.
Well, yes, while I was waiting for the money, one of the things that happened was I suddenly remembered I had some superannuation that I'd just kind of forgotten about. You know, it'd just been, it wasn't a huge amount. It was $25,000, so it wasn't enough to retire on. But I thought, oh, well, it'll be useful now. That'll tide us over. So I cashed that in. And 2 days later, oh, and I thought, gosh, it was so nice to have that. I saw it on my bank account, on my statement, and I thought, oh, gee, that looks good. You know, I really like that amount of money. Oh, I'll call in another amount just like that, you know, another 25,000. And someone rang me up who I'd worked with years ago and offered me some work. And she offered me about $8,000 to do the work. And I said, I can't really do a good job for that, for what you want to pay me. I won't be able to do more than 3 hours a week. You know, it's just not going to work. And then she said, well, I can find 25,000. How would that suit you? Perfect, fine, yes, thank you. So that was just amazing that happened. But the benefit that came out of that was sort of about 11 hours a week over 4 months, and working in a hospital, setting up the art therapy system there. And what I learned from there was the value of having other people to support me. So, you know, just now when you were talking about that support, that was probably the best lesson for that 4 months, where I was going into the hospital and doing the work there, and I was getting people really interested in what I was doing and helping. And there was the marketing department. You know, I was working one-to-one with patients and with the staff in the hospital in groups, and there was just what I love to receive, which is recognition and appreciation, and the value that they saw in the work that I was doing, as well as being well paid for it. It was, but just that, you know, what I'd been missing was someone to work with, to have the support with, and I thought I needed an assistant or somebody like that, but I could never afford it. So this was just a beautiful gift to me, really, you know, to see that that's how I could get the support, and I could still work with full expression of myself in this place. I had fantastic freedom. I you know, a lot of people wear uniforms there, and I was not. I was wearing some quite wild clothing, and everybody thought, oh, you must be the art therapist. Fine, you know. So it was just a lot of fun, and I really missed it actually when the 4 months came to an end. But I've arranged a meeting with the CEO so that I can go in and talk about some gaps that I saw, some things that I can see are coming up that I could actually, you know, like burnout among the staff and that sort of thing, that I can see are coming. And and I've got something I can offer to help with that.
Amazing.
So,
And I think the inner, like, just say as well, I obviously I've journeyed with you with this shift, right? The inner shift of what I would say, owning the throne and owning your value. Money's come in from unexpected places, which is like the stuff we can't see. But then it's also like how you showed up in that. And then now you're kind of in this next level of, owning the throne and valuing how much you're being paid and those things. One thing I'm just curious if you feel like sharing, you don't have to, because I know money work is very personal work, right? And one of the things I'm endlessly fascinated about once, so the level we get to with my clients is, it's not, you might get good at receiving money, but it's like our capacity to hold it, right?
Yes.
Money can come in and money can come out. So what I love playing with is when we've got the money and the money's coming in, what's coming up when we actually have it, right? And how do we take care of it? And what's going on with our relationship with money when it's in here? And this to me is a real next level piece, right? We think, I don't have money, but then it lands, but then what are we doing with it when it's landing in? And what's our relationship with it when it's landing in? Is there anything you want to share when that big chunk of cash landed? Is there anything you want to share about that process?
Well, what was interesting was it didn't come in as a big chunk. I thought it would, but it came in bits because my dad had got investments all over the place that my brother was gradually collating and then sending the money out to me and my siblings. So it was kind of a gradual thing. But the taking care of it was really interesting because when it came in, I wanted it to stay there, but we had all sorts of bills, and we had credit card debt and all that sort of thing. So I was very keen to pay those off. And so I had to learn about the flow of money, that when it comes in, it also has to go out, and also to invest some of that money. And I didn't know where to start with that. So the tricky part about the investing is, as well as not knowing what to do about it, that sort of stuff's always been my husband's job. He had the farm that, he had when I met him, and we sold the farm, and then that went to building the house that we live in and buying an aeroplane for him to refurbish. So money was always the thing that he controlled and I didn't. And so there's been a whole, not just me learning about where to invest money, but also learning how to manage him because, you were talking about this power that you have and that your husband can't deal with or couldn't. And that's where I'm at this stage is there's a power that when I'm powerful, he is he kind of shuts down. And I've always thought it's because I'm too much, I'm too enthusiastic, too excitable, he just kind of falls asleep. And and so there's a whole lot of relationship stuff that has to happen there. And you've touched on it before about all the stuff around money is across everything in your life. So it's across relationships, career, just my personal power, how I am in the world and how confident I am and that sort of thing. So it's been a massive learning curve on just every facet. Yeah.
It's been amazing to witness you and claim your power and your financial and your relationship with money, right? Where we've been disempowered and you learning how to claim your power within it and how to co-create, like with work and clients and relationships. And this is it, but not abandon. You get to also be in the driver's seat and the rider of your wealth and learn, right? Because there's things we don't know, we haven't been taught, and how to sort of navigate that, being in the unknown, being in the vulnerability of I don't know, and can I trust myself, and how do I do this? It's really powerful stuff. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And what has your experience been like being sitting in the space and working with the people in the mastermind? How have you found that process?
The just lovely support from everybody. It's just a beautiful container to that we're all held in, and just there's so much love in there. So, you know, I didn't take advantage of the Facebook page as much as I could have, but I found every interaction I had with someone, I received something really valuable, and they had, you know, quite often they told me that they received something from my posts and that sort of stuff. So it was a real growing and yeah, really, really beautiful, you know, and working, sort of having interactions with people that I would not normally bump into, you know. So it was lovely to be growing together and to appreciate, sort of have compassion, really appreciate people being at different places, different levels. You know, some things are working better for them than for me, and vice versa, you know, that sort of thing. So, but it was just a lovely, lovely group of people to be with, and to know that I could go to, you know, if something was really sort of imploding or whatever, I could just get on the Facebook page and say, hey, you know, is there anyone else had to deal with this? This is driving me nuts. How do I sort this out? What's the lesson here? You know, that you can ask all those questions, and there'll be someone, they weren't exactly giving advice, but just reflecting and really. So part of that, really amplifying each other as well, amplifying the successes and celebrating, you know, the fantastic things that they were manifesting. I mean, it was beautiful. It was such a supportive environment, really good.
Amazing. There's so much to be said for that, to be held, received, celebrated. There's not many places you can go where people are going to be really happy for you succeeding and making money, and, you know, and holding also in the depth of the vulnerabilities, right, and the emotions that come up. And we kind of hold you the highest heights of celebrating, and then also hold you in the deepest depths of what comes up, right? It's and that for me is the integration of, like, you're very powerful, and we're also very vulnerable. And we can all, and I know we're still expanding that capacity, right, to hold you in your immense power, because there's always a new level, and expanding your capacity to manage, like, deeper levels, new levels of wealth. And that's part of what we're growing into, and we're doing that together, fumbling through one step at a time. Iris, I want to say thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. Really, really greatly appreciate it. It's a great joy to witness you and work with you, and new level. Here we go. Thank you so much for joining us, sweetheart.
Thank you, Lara. Thanks.
All right.